I was still holding the ring box when she said it. Not shouted, not angrily, just calmly. I don't think we should get married. Her words floated between us like something fragile, something already broken before it landed. We were sitting in the corner booth of the cafe where we had our first date. Same wooden table, same window view, same soft jazz playing in the background. I had chosen this place carefully, believing memories could protect love. Clearly I was wrong. Is this a joke? I asked, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. She didn't smile back. Anya, my fiancée of 2 years, kept her hands folded in her lap, eyes lowered, as if she had practiced this moment 100 times in her head. I've been thinking about it for weeks, she said. I should have told you sooner. My fingers tightened around the velvet box. Inside was the ring I had spent 6 months saving for. I skipped vacations. I worked extra shifts. I said no to things I wanted so she could have everything she deserved. Thinking about what? I asked quietly. She inhaled slowly, then finally looked at me. You and I, we're just too different. Different, that word again. People always use it when they don't want to say the truth. I leaned forward. Different how? She hesitated, and in that hesitation, I felt my heart preparing itself for pain. You're stable, she said carefully. You're kind, you're dependable. My chest loosened slightly until she continued. But you don't make me feel excited anymore. There it was. The sentence men never forget. I'm 35, not dead, I said with a nervous laugh. Excitement isn't everything. For you, maybe, she replied. But I don't want a life that feels small. The cafe suddenly felt too quiet, too public, too exposed. Is there someone else? I asked. She didn't answer immediately. That silence confirmed everything. He came back, she said softly. My ex. I stared at her, trying to process the words. The rich one? I asked before I could stop myself. She flinched. Yes, of course. The man she dated before me. The one with the luxury car, the private gym membership, the Instagram life full of rooftop dinners in foreign cities. The one who left her once and somehow came back at the worst possible time. He's changed, she said quickly, as if defending herself. He's more serious now. He owns multiple clinics. He talks about investments like they're nothing. I nodded slowly. And me? I asked. What do I talk about? She swallowed. Work, responsibility, planning. So being an adult was my crime. I opened the ring box and pushed it gently across the table. I was going to ask you today, I said. Officially, again. Her eyes widened for a moment. Not with joy, with guilt. I can't accept that, she whispered. I know, I replied. She stood up, adjusting her coat, already preparing to leave. I'm sorry, she said. You deserve someone who sees you. I watched her walk away. The bell above the cafe door rang softly. And just like that, the future I planned vanished. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the ring still on the table. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at my reflection in the dark window. Mid-30s, average salary. No flashy success story. A man who did everything right and still lost. Weeks later, I heard the news through mutual friends. She was getting married. To him. Fast, lavish venue. Celebrity guests. A wedding that looked like a magazine spread. And somehow, an invitation arrived at my door. I laughed when I saw it. Not because it was funny, but because life has a twisted sense of humor. I had no idea yet that this wedding would change everything, and that when I walked into that hall, I wouldn't be alone. Chapter 2. She chose his money, I chose silence. I didn't reply to the wedding invitation. Not because I was angry, not because I was weak, but because silence felt like the only thing I still owned. For days, the envelope sat unopened on my desk, mocking me every time I walked past it. Thick paper, gold lettering, her name beside his, printed boldly, confidently, like the universe had already rewritten our story without asking me. I finally opened it on a Sunday evening. Luxury venue, black tie dress code, reception to follow. Everything about it screamed excess. I folded the card neatly and placed it back in the envelope. Then I went to work the next morning like nothing had happened. Work was the only place where my life still made sense. No drama, no explanations, just results. I worked in corporate strategy, quiet, analytical, behind-the-scenes work that never made headlines, the kind of role people underestimate until they need it. That week, I buried myself deeper than usual. Long hours. No lunch breaks. No small talk. My colleagues noticed. "You okay?" one of them asked casually. "Yeah," I said. Just focused. The truth was simpler. If I stopped moving, the thoughts would catch me. Thoughts of how easily she walked away. Thoughts of how replaceable I apparently was. A few days later, I saw her, not in person, on my phone. A mutual friend had posted a photo, Anya smiling beside him at a pre-wedding event. She looked radiant, confident, like someone who had won. The comments were brutal. Power couple. Upgrade. Finally found her level. I closed the app. That night, I stood on my balcony staring at the city lights below. I remembered something my father once said before he passed away. "Son, never compete with a man's money. Compete with your patience. Money burns fast. Discipline lasts." Back then, I didn't understand. Now I did. 2 weeks before the wedding, my boss called me into his office. "Sit," he said. His tone wasn't casual. I sat. "We're acquiring a private healthcare group," he continued. "Large network. Complicated structure. I need someone I trust to handle negotiations quietly." I raised an eyebrow. And I want you on the core team." This wasn't normal. Deals of this size went to senior directors, people louder, flashier, more visible. "Why me?" I asked. He leaned back. "Because you don't panic, you don't show ego, and you don't talk unless necessary." I nodded slowly. He slid a file across the desk. Company name printed on the cover. My stomach tightened. It was his company. The Rejection. The clinics everyone bragged about. The man she chose over me. My boss watched my reaction carefully. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," I said after a pause. "Perfectly." And I meant it. That night, for the first time since the breakup, I slept peacefully. Not because I wanted revenge, but because something inside me finally aligned. I wasn't behind. I was just invisible. And invisible people see everything. A week before the wedding, Anya called me. Her name flashing on my phone felt surreal. I stared at it for a long moment before answering. "Hello?" Her voice was softer than I remembered. "I didn't think you'd pick up." "I almost didn't," I replied honestly. Silence. "I wanted to check on you," she said. "You didn't respond to the invitation." "I received it." "Oh." Another pause. "I hope there's no bad blood," she added quickly. "I really want you there." I smiled faintly. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. "Because you mattered to me." Past tense. "I'm busy," I said. "I'll see." She sounded relieved. "Okay, I hope you're doing well." "I am," I replied. And for the first time, that wasn't a lie. After the call ended, I looked at my reflection in the dark screen. Same face, same quiet eyes, but something had changed. I wasn't chasing closure anymore. I wasn't comparing bank accounts. I wasn't trying to prove my worth to anyone. I was becoming something else entirely. Something patient, something dangerous. The wedding was coming, and without realizing it, she had already lost. Chapter 3. The invitation I almost declined. 3 days before the wedding, I finally said yes. Not out loud. Not to anyone. Just quietly in my head. I was standing in my kitchen, coffee growing cold in my hand, staring at the city outside my window when the thought came to me calm. Steady, unexpected. I should go. Not for her. Not for closure. Not even for pride. But because walking away forever sometimes requires walking back one last time. The deal meetings had intensified. Late nights. High-stakes discussions. Boardroom tension thick enough to cut. I sat across from executives who had no idea who I really was, or how closely my personal life was now tied to the numbers on their screens. His company's weaknesses were obvious once you stopped admiring the shine. Overexpansion. Emotional leadership. Ego-driven decisions. I didn't smile when I noticed. I didn't feel joy, just clarity. That evening, I received a message. Not from her. From him. The rich ex. The future groom. "Hey, Anya said you might come to the wedding. Hope there's no awkwardness. Would be good to see you." I stared at the screen, amused by how carefully neutral his words were. No arrogance. No insecurity. Just ignorance. He had no idea that the man he was, inviting into his celebration, was sitting quietly in meetings that could decide the fate of his empire. I typed back one word. Sure. The night before the wedding, sleep didn't come easily. Not because I missed her, but because memories have a way of knocking louder when they know you're about to close the door forever. I remembered nights when she complained I worked too much. "You're always planning for a future that never comes," she'd said once. I wondered what she would think if she saw me now. Still quiet, still focused, but no longer uncertain. The wedding morning arrived, wrapped in sunlight and false perfection. I dressed slowly. Dark tailored suit. No flashy watch. No statement pieces. Just precision. As I adjusted my cufflinks, I looked at myself in the mirror. Mid-30s. Calm eyes. A face that had learned restraint. I didn't look like a man attending his ex-fiancée's wedding. I looked like a man attending a business milestone. The venue was exactly what I expected. Grand. Overdesigned. Trying too hard to impress people who didn't matter. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Guests laughed loudly, dressed in confidence they hadn't earned. As I walked inside, conversations softened around me. Some recognized me, some didn't. But everyone felt something shift. Then I saw her. Anya stood near the entrance, dressed in white, surrounded by friends. She was beautiful. But beauty without peace has a sharp edge. Her smile faltered when our eyes met. Just for a second. That second told me everything. She hadn't expected me to actually come. I nodded politely. She walked toward me, careful, like someone approaching a memory they weren't ready to reopen. "You came," she said. "You invited me," I replied calmly. She searched my face as if trying to find anger. Regret, longing. She found none. "You look different," she said. "So do you." Her smile tightened. "I'm glad you're here," she added softly. I nodded once. "Congratulations." The word landed heavier than I expected. I took my seat near the front. That's when the whispers began. "Who is he? Isn't that her ex? Why does he look so composed?" Then it happened. A man approached and stopped beside me, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. He extended his hand. "Good to see you again," he said warmly. I stood and shook it. "Likewise," I replied. The room froze. That man was the groom's boss, the chairman of the healthcare group. The real power behind the wealth. Guests stared openly now. Why was he greeting me like an equal? Anya noticed. Her eyes widened. The groom noticed too, confusion flashing across his face. The chairman gestured toward the empty seat beside me. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. "Please," I said. He leaned in slightly and spoke quietly. "After today, things will move fast. Be ready." I nodded. The wedding music began. But somewhere between the vows and the applause, the balance of power in that room had already shifted. Anya looked back once. Her eyes met mine. This time she didn't see the man she rejected. She saw the man she never truly understood, and for the first time since she walked away. Regret flickered. Chapter 4. When the truth began to unravel. Applause filled the hall as the ceremony ended. People stood, smiles widened, cameras flashed, but behind the celebration something fragile had begun to crack. I remained seated for a moment longer than everyone else, not because I was tired, but because I could feel the shift. The kind that doesn't announce itself loudly, yet changes everything underneath. The chairman beside me stood first. "Walk with me," he said quietly. I followed. We stepped away from the hall into a private corridor, lined with white marble and soft lighting. The noise faded behind us, replaced by silence that carried weight. "You handled yourself well," he said. No emotion, no reaction. "I came to observe," I replied, "not to disrupt." He smiled slightly. "Disruption doesn't always need noise." We stopped near a tall window overlooking the gardens, where guests were gathering for photos. "After the honeymoon," he continued, "there will be restructuring. Leadership realignment." I already knew. "I'll be ready," I said. He studied me for a second longer than necessary. "You know," he added, "your ex-fiancée has no idea what kind of man she rejected." I didn't respond. Some truths don't need defense. Back in the reception area, conversations had changed tone. People glanced at me, then away, then back again. Questions hovered in the air, but no one dared to ask them directly. Who was I really? Why did the chairman treat me like an equal? Why did the groom suddenly look smaller? Anya found me near the edge of the garden. She approached slowly, careful, as if afraid I might disappear. "I didn't know," she said finally. "Didn't know what?" I asked calmly. "That you were involved with his company, with people like him." I looked at her. She was searching my face again, not for love this time, but for understanding, for confirmation that her decision had been wrong. I never hid who I was, I said. I just didn't advertise who I was becoming. She swallowed. When we were together, she said, you never talked about power or money. I was busy building it, I replied. That hurt her more than anger ever could. Her husband, my replacement, joined us moments later. He forced a smile. Good to see you here, he said, extending his hand again. Didn't realize you and my boss were so close. I shook his hand firmly. Work tends to do that, I said. He laughed awkwardly. Right, of course. But his eyes betrayed him. He was uneasy now, the kind of unease that comes from sensing a storm without knowing where it will strike. Later that evening, as guests enjoyed champagne and speeches, I found myself alone near the bar. That's when the whispers reached me. Apparently he's leading the expansion division. I heard he's the one auditing internal finances. No wonder the chairman respects him. Each sentence tightened the invisible thread around the groom's confidence. I watched him laugh too loudly, drink too quickly. Power imbalance does that to people. Anya approached one last time. Her voice was softer now. Do you ever think about us? She asked. I took a moment before answering. Sometimes, I said honestly, but not in the way you think. She waited. I think about how easily love can be confused with comfort, and how painful clarity becomes once comfort is gone. Her eyes filled with something close to tears. I made a mistake, she whispered. I looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time that day. No, I said gently. You made a choice. She flinched. There's a difference. The chairman called my name from across the room. I turned. As I walked away, I felt it, the moment she understood. I wasn't here to reclaim anything. I was here because my life had outgrown the past. That night, as the celebration continued, emails were already moving behind the scenes, reports being reviewed, decisions being prepared, positions being reconsidered, and somewhere between champagne glasses and wedding toasts, the groom's empire had begun to tremble. He just didn't know it yet. Chapter 5. The Man Behind the Curtain. The wedding lights faded, but the consequences didn't. 3 days later, I sat in a glass-walled boardroom 30 floors above the city, watching numbers scroll silently across a massive screen. Revenue charts, compliance audits, internal risk markers. This was the side of the world Anya had never seen. The quiet side, the dangerous side. Across the table sat senior executives, people who had built careers on appearances, on loyalty that lasted only as long as profits did. The chairman stood at the head of the table. Let's begin, he said. And with that, the curtain started to lift. I tapped my tablet once. The screen changed. A line of red indicators appeared beside a familiar division name. Her husband's division. I've completed a 3-month internal audit, I said calmly. There are inconsistencies. The room stiffened. One executive leaned forward. What kind of inconsistencies? Contract manipulation, vendor favoritism, inflated service costs. Silence followed. Not shock, fear, because men like them already knew what that meant. The chairman folded his arms. How deep? Deep enough, I replied, that this can't be handled quietly. A chair creaked. Someone swallowed. I continued, my voice even, controlled. There's also evidence of intellectual property leakage. Not confirmed, but concerning. The groom's name wasn't spoken. It didn't need to be. Everyone understood. That same evening, my phone buzzed. Anya. I let it ring. Then buzz again. And again. Finally, I answered. Not because I owed her, but because closure sometimes demands confrontation. Why didn't you tell me? She asked the moment I picked up. Tell you what? I replied. That you were this powerful. I exhaled slowly. Would it have changed your choice? She didn't answer, and that was my answer. I loved you, she said quietly. I know, I replied, but love wasn't enough for you. There was a pause. He's under pressure, she said. Something's happening at his company. I looked out the window at the city below. Yes, I said. Something is. The next morning, the company floor felt different. Whispers followed footsteps. Doors closed faster. Eyes avoided mine. Power, once revealed, changes gravity. People either move toward it or fall away. By noon, the groom requested a meeting. Private, urgent. We met in a small executive lounge overlooking the river. He didn't offer me a seat. I took one anyway. I don't know what game you're playing, he said tightly, but you need to stop. I looked at him calmly. I'm not playing, I said. I'm doing my job. His jaw clenched. You always had this tone, he snapped. Like you were better than everyone. I leaned forward slightly. No, I corrected. I just didn't need to prove myself. That hit harder than an insult. You think this is revenge? He asked. No, I said honestly. This is consequence. He laughed bitterly. She chose me. I met his eyes. Yes, I said. And now she's learning what that cost. That evening the board voted. Temporary suspension of authority. Internal investigation. External oversight. His signature privileges were revoked. Quietly, efficiently, legally. By the time Anya found out, it was already irreversible. She came to see me, unannounced, standing in the lobby of my building like someone who had lost the map to her own life. You're destroying him, she said. No, I replied. He did that himself. Her eyes searched my face. I don't recognize you anymore. I nodded. That's because you never waited to see who I would become. She left without another word. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger, only clarity. Late that night, alone in my office, I stared at my reflection in the dark glass. The man staring back wasn't the one who had been rejected. He was sharper, calmer, unbreakable. And tomorrow, the final truth would surface. Chapter 6, and when karma spoke out loud. The truth doesn't shout at first. It whispers. And then one day, it echoes so loudly that everyone hears it at once. That morning, the city woke up to headlines. Not dramatic ones, not scandal-hungry gossip, just facts. And facts are the most dangerous thing of all. I was already in my office when my assistant entered, holding a tablet with both hands. Sir, she said quietly, the report went public. I didn't look up immediately. I already knew what it would say. Thank you, I replied. She hesitated. There are reporters downstairs. I nodded once. Let them wait. Across the city, in a house that still smelled like wedding flowers, Anya stood frozen in front of her television. Her husband's face appeared on the screen. Not confident, not smiling, just exposed. A calm female anchor spoke. An internal investigation has revealed serious ethical violations within the medical procurement division of one of the city's most prestigious healthcare groups. The screen shifted to documents, timelines, numbers, signatures. Her husband's name appeared, not once but again and again. The remote slipped from her hand. She didn't cry. Shock doesn't come with tears. It comes with silence. At the office, the board convened again. This time, no one pretended. The chairman spoke slowly. We have no choice. Termination is effective immediately. No anger. No satisfaction. Just inevitability. Power doesn't humiliate. It removes. I walked out of the meeting into the press waiting area. Cameras turned. Microphones rose. 100 questions rushed forward at once. I raised one hand. Silence followed. I won't comment on personal matters, I said calmly. This company values integrity. That's all. And then I left, because the loudest statement is restraint. By afternoon, Anya was knocking on my door. Not calling. Not messaging. Standing there, small, tired, stripped of certainty. I opened it. She looked at me like someone staring at the shore after surviving a storm. They fired him, she said. I know, I replied. Her eyes searched my face, desperate for something. Anger, guilt, pity. She found none. Was this your plan? She asked. I paused. No, I said honestly. My plan was to move on. She stepped inside. The apartment was quiet, clean, intentional. Nothing like the chaos her life had become. I didn't think it would end like this, she whispered. That's the problem, I replied gently. You never thought about the ending. She sat on the couch like someone waiting for a verdict. I chose stability, she said. Security. I met her gaze. You chose what looked powerful, I corrected. Not what was right. Her shoulders sagged. He blames me, she admitted. Says I distracted him, that marrying me ruined his focus. I didn't react. Men like him never take responsibility. She laughed softly, broken, humorless. I left you because I thought you were boring. I nodded. I was peaceful, I said. You mistook that for weakness. Her eyes filled. I didn't know you were becoming this man. I stood up. And that, I said, is why you lost me. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Not in anger, in finality. I don't hate you, I said. But I don't belong to your regrets. She sobbed then, finally. Not because she loved me, but because karma had spoken, and it hadn't chosen her. That night, I stood alone on my balcony, city lights stretching endlessly before me. I remembered the version of myself who once waited for her messages, who doubted his worth, who thought love meant proving something. That man was gone. The phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I ignored it. Some doors close quietly, others slam. But either way, they close. Far away, Anya packed her bags, not because she wanted to leave, but because there was nowhere left to stand. And me? I went to bed peacefully. Not victorious, just free. Because karma doesn't need revenge. It needs time. And patience. And truth. Chapter 7. The man she needed, too late. Time doesn't heal everything. Sometimes it just reveals the truth more clearly. Months passed. Quietly. No headlines. No drama. No names trending on screens. Just life, moving forward without asking permission. My company expanded into 3 new markets. I stopped measuring success in numbers and started measuring it in peace. Mornings were calm. Nights were quiet. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was running towards something. I was already where I belonged. One evening, as autumn settled into the city, I received an invitation. A charity gala. My name listed as the keynote contributor. I almost declined, but something told me to go. Not out of curiosity, out of closure. The venue glowed with soft golden light. Crystal glasses. Muted conversations. Elegant music flowing like memory. I moved through the crowd with ease. No one questioned my place there. That used to matter to me. It doesn't anymore. Then I saw her. Across the room, Anya stood near the exit, holding a clutch too tightly. She looked different. Not weaker, just unfinished. The confidence she once wore so loudly had softened into something quieter. Something heavier. She noticed me. Our eyes met. And in that second, time didn't rewind. It clarified. She walked toward me slowly, not rushing, not avoiding, just accepting. I didn't know you'd be here, she said. I didn't know I would either, I replied. Silence followed. Not awkward, honest. You look well, she said finally. So do you, I replied. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't longing either. We stepped aside, away from the crowd. I left him, she said. I nodded once. No reaction. No questions. I realized I was always chasing people who looked strong, she continued, and ignoring the ones who were. I met her gaze. And now? I asked. She swallowed. Now I see that strength isn't loud. It's consistent. I smiled gently. That's a good lesson, I said. She hesitated. I wish I had learned it sooner. I didn't answer immediately, because some truths don't need comforting lies. You didn't need a stronger man, I said calmly. You needed to become stronger yourself. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Growth doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it comes with regret that finally understands its place. She looked at me, really looked. The man you are now, she said softly. He's everything I thought I wanted. I exhaled slowly. Yes, I said. But he exists because I was left alone. That was the moment she understood. Not emotionally, but completely. I won't ask for another chance, she said. Her voice didn't break, and that's how I knew she meant it. I just wanted to tell you. I'm proud of you. I nodded. Thank you, I replied. And I meant it. The music swelled. Applause echoed across the hall. My name was called. I turned toward the stage, then paused. Looked back at her. This is goodbye, I said gently. She smiled. Not hopefully, not sadly, just honestly. I know. I walked away. Not because I was stronger, but because I no longer needed to prove it. On stage, I spoke about growth, about building quietly, about losing people who weren't meant to walk the whole journey with you. The room listened, but somewhere behind the lights and applause, I felt something settle. Later that night, I returned home. No messages waiting, no unresolved conversations, just silence, the good kind. I stood by the window, city lights blinking like distant stars. I thought about love. Not the desperate kind, not the proving kind, but the peaceful kind, the kind that arrives when you stop begging for it. She needed the man I became, but she wasn't meant to walk beside him, and that was okay. Because rebirth isn't about revenge. It's about alignment, and somewhere ahead, without rushing, without fear, a future waited, one that didn't ask me to be chosen, only to be myself.